Hi, everyone. Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance, welcoming Gretchen Spletzer, my co-host, for another Spotlight Now. Gretchen?
Hi everyone. We're here today with Gwen Dudley, and this interview is a little different. We're interviewing somebody who has experienced a green burial. So Gwen, she lives with her son in Annapolis, Maryland. She lost her partner, Paul Francis Duffy, in May of 2023 when he was 32 to a fentanyl overdose. She's an advocate for sobriety and about the dangers of addiction. And I found Gwen when I was looking at hashtag Green Burial and reached out to her because I really wanted to hear more from people who've actually experienced a green burial. So welcome, Gwen, to our little interview space. And so let me just start. So how did you find out or become aware of green burial, after what happened? I'm really sorry about what happened too. It's really awful. And I know a lot of funeral directors are dealing with families that have gone through the same thing that you've gone through. So,
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for having me here. And we found out about it because Duffy is my partner who passed away in 2021. His aunt actually passed away a few months before him, and she had requested a green burial. So Duffy and I attended her green burial for the first time. We'd never witnessed one before, and it was just so humbling. And both of us are very into, being more natural, like more involved with nature, getting to the roots of humanity, getting back to these things that we've done for so long that have been kind of like obscured in modern day society. So we loved it. And he said, if I were to, die, this is what I would want. So obviously we didn't know, but 4 months later, he ended up passing away, and I knew what he wanted. So we have a really beautiful spot in Annapolis that does green burials. His mom immediately was like, this is what we want to do. Yeah, that's how I found out about it. And it's
wow.
definitely not something I hear about a lot. Most people I talk to don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you came away from the aunt's funeral just um, inspired, even though it was a sad thing, but the process was inspiring because it felt probably right. I mean, I feel like it's natural to do it that way. You know, I do my animals that way. I'm going to be done that way. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Let
did
me
you?
ask you something, Gwen.
Oh,
Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry, Gretchen. I didn't mean to cut you off. Uh,
no, go ahead, Ed.
what? Yeah, apologize. So Gwen, you know, what I think the viewers may understand about natural burial is the environmental aspects of it. But for you, as an individual who was directly affected by the loss of your loved one, uh, how did it affect you as far as your grieving and your feeling of being part of the actual service and ceremony itself?
I think that the way that green burials are done is really pivotal for the grieving process. I think that I've been to traditional funerals that you've seen where, they're embalmed or there's a viewing or they're in a casket, and that's what I've known my whole life. And what this did for me specifically was it felt very intimate. It felt like family. It felt there was so much love there. The people who helped us with the process were so kind and appreciative. And my dad had passed away 6 months prior to Duffy, and his funeral was the traditional one that you would see. And it didn't feel good, if I'm going to be honest. I remember walking away and everybody saying, like, the people there weren't very nice, and we didn't get to lower him into the ground. I didn't realize we couldn't do that, and it just felt strange. And so then having the contrast that soon after with Duffy, where we all were able to help lower him into the ground, and they gave us flowers to put in there, and to put the dirt on him specifically was like really special to me. I feel like we got to lay him to rest, and honor his body and the life that he lived here. And it didn't feel the same way with other losses that I've had. And I think everybody there was kind of surprised at how nice it felt. You know, there's this phobia around death. And so it's just our culture now. And it brought this beauty to it that everybody was kind of like, well, that was nice, you know, and they didn't know how to express like this dying thing was nice or this
Yeah.
burial thing was nice, but it made everybody feel very close and connected. And I think it was a little bit of a shock when people came up and saw him wrapped in the shroud. They didn't know what to expect, or, you know, it's just not something you see that often. So, um, it was interesting to see the transition where people are surprised and uncomfortable, and then afterward they just seem to have more peace. And that's how I felt. I felt more at peace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how those present moments with the reality of death and each step that you go through, whether it's, you know, you're part of the wrapping or just part of the lowering or part of putting the dirt on, just it's like letting go, loving letting go, you know, like you're letting go in these little increments that are almost ritualistic,
Yeah.
and that helps, you know, the grieving process, um unbeknownst to us at the end of it all. You
Well,
know, rather than being kind of removed from it where you don't have any hands on at all, you just show up and then you leave. It's almost like it's taken away from you in a way.
Yeah.
what I appreciate that you've said, Gwen, and this is really what I've been saying to people for years. You truly don't understand the definition of this until you experience it. And I can clearly see that you have, and it has changed you as a human being. You've gained a greater form of acceptance of the passing, more so that you can celebrate the life that was lived, and you don't look troubled or grief stricken speaking about it because you found inner peace. And
Mm.
I really appreciate that. And I think, and I'd like you to explain and tell me if you feel this way. I tell a lot of my families that this is in your DNA. You just didn't know it was there. You have the capacity to do this. And until you actually do it, you unlock that box. So do you feel, as far as the experience was concerned, that it was something that came easy to you?
Yes, it's the way you just use those words. I was just saying this to somebody last night, and Gretchen and I talked a little bit about it, but it feels like this generational calling or knowing, or yeah, it's just a part of your DNA and you don't realize it. And I love that you said unlocked, because and I told Gretchen that before he actually passed away, he was on life support and they declared him brain dead, and they told me that that was it. And the first thing I did was I asked everybody to leave, and I like washed his hair. And I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I wanted to wash his hair and like tend to his body, but I just did it because I was so in the moment of my pain and love for him. And I think that's what it does, is it brings you in unison with this pain and love in a way that is so healing, because they're both like two parts of the same coin. And it can be beautiful. Grief and pain can be beautiful, and it is more healing that way when it's expressed in a way that's ritualistic. Um,
Yeah, what it's bringing to
Absolutely.
mind is just how our ancestors have done this
Mm,
for a millennia, even the washing, because I mean, we can see when the person's dead that they're not there anymore,
mm-hmm.
but still we loved that body, or if they were sick, we
Yeah,
cared for that body, we made love to that body, we
yeah,
everything that body. So wanting to care for it and wash the hair and just have that special moment to say thank you and I love you and I
yeah.
enjoyed you, is so
Well,
important.
and I think the beautiful part about this is that you did it together with the group of people that all shared this experience that actually, and you said it and you didn't realize what you were saying, but it became a memorable experience. You want to remember that send off because it
Yeah,
meant something to you. Unlike unfortunately, with your dads, it's not that they're not caring for the individual. It just is a different feeling, a different
mm,
experience when you can care for your loved one in this intimate, personal way where no one's saying, all right, it's time to move on, or removing that from you. It
Yeah.
helps you move forward. So I really appreciate the fact that this changed you as a human being, and you can share this now with others.
yeah, me too. I actually love the area where he's buried too. It's so peaceful. It's back in the trees. I go there a lot. I think some people are afraid to go visit their loved ones, or they make it's very sad, and I love it. It's like I grab a coffee, I go, I'll bring flowers, and I set them up like on the perimeter of his burial, and I bring like crystals, and just it feels more yeah, the ritualistic thing is there. It's more of like the token of love that I get to give to him, and I want to show people, like close friends of mine, and then they go and they see the area and they're like, this is really cool. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know, it's different, and it's something that I think is going to continue to grow more and
Yeah.
more.
And I
Uh,
love that too, because it brings the cemetery a little bit more into people's lives, that beautiful, quiet space for, enjoying nature and reflection. I think
Yeah,
they're really, really important spaces to visit, and if we have a really good experience with death and the universal experience of loss and handled it the way you did, then it just becomes part of our life. The cemetery is part of our life, you know?
exactly.
Absolutely, the way it was in the past. I mean, cemeteries until modern day really were very large parts of the family, and tending to these things. What's really special about a conversation like this too, Gwen, and Gretchen and I really appreciate you speaking to this, is that you are leading by example, not only to the consumer, but to the provider as well. Because when the provider will see you speak of this, they will say to themselves, wow, look at the impact that this makes on the community. And that's what institutes change.
Mhm.
So we do really appreciate you sharing this information with us. And it's rather unfortunate, but tomorrow is never promised. So
Yeah,
in life, it's the little things that count. And now, you can, instead of being locked in grief with the loss of a loved one, you can remember all the good times and celebrate that, in my opinion, more so.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's how I want to be buried now. And I think that it's more because I want that experience for my loved ones. I want them to have the same thing when I pass. I want them to feel some kind of closure and beauty in my passing. I think everyone should have it, and
Yeah.
I I don't know why it got taken away the way that it did for so long.
Yeah, I feel like it's just sort of a horse that ran away.
Yeah.
It was something and then it just never got reined in, and and the more it got away from us, the more we got disconnected from death. And
Mm,
then the more we got disconnected from death, the more we lost, how important life is, or just how precious it is, until we actually face it. Then we remember, oh, yeah. But I think when it's more of a thing that you're not avoiding, that you contemplate regularly because you've lost people and you wonder where they are. You just live better.
Exactly.
Well,
Absolutely.
Gretchen and I really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. Know that that Duffy's life not only made a difference to you and your family, but now it'll make a big difference to many others because you can share these experiences that might change a lot of things in the future. So we do appreciate it. And if the viewers out there are not a Global Green Burial pledge provider or consumer, please take the pledge and support people like Gwen, and let's change the way the world views death.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Gwen. I just want to thank you 1,000 times for doing this. Even now, us having the talk was more special than I even imagined because I can hear how meaningful it was to you, and that's what we wanted. So,
Thank you for thinking of me and finding me.
yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're signing off, and everybody, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.